Anti-core, where we count apples, not cores.
In Subtraction Level 6, we are going to use all that we've learned in levels 1 through 5 to subtract a 3-digit number from a 5-digit number. We will be borrowing and borrowing with zeros. Here we have 20,517 minus 719. As we have done in earlier levels, we will start by subtracting the 9 from the 7 in the ones column. Since 9 is greater than 7, we will have to borrow from the 1 in the tens column. Doing this puts a 0 in the tens borrow location and a 17 in the ones borrow location. Now we can subtract 17 minus 9 in the ones column. Since 17 minus 9 equals 8, we have 8 for the answer in the ones column. Now, in the tens column, we are going to subtract 1 from the 0 in the tens borrow location. Since 1 is greater than 0, we're going to have to borrow from the 5 in the hundreds location. Doing this puts a 4 in the hundreds borrow location and a 10 in the tens borrow location. Now we can subtract 10 minus 1 in the tens column. 10 minus 1 equals 9, so we have the answer in the tens answer location. Now, in the hundreds column, we are going to subtract 7 from the 4 in the hundreds borrow location. Since 7 is greater than 4, we're going to have to borrow from the 0 in the thousands location. Since we cannot borrow from 0, we will have to borrow from the 2 in the 10,000s column and borrow across the 0 of the thousands column. This puts 14 in the hundreds borrow location. Now we can subtract 14 minus 7 in the hundreds column. 14 minus 7 equals 7, so we have the answer in the hundreds answer location. We have no other numbers to subtract in the thousands or 10,000s columns, so we can bring down the numbers in the thousands and 10,000s borrow locations to the 1,000 and 10,000s answer locations. Now we have our answer. So 20,517 minus 719 equals 19,798. Let's try another one. Here we have 60,425 minus 837. We will start by subtracting the 7 from the 5 in the ones column. Since 7 is greater than 5, we will have to borrow from the 2 in the tens column. Doing this puts a 1 in the tens borrow location and a 15 in the ones borrow location. Now we can subtract 15 minus 7 in the ones column. Since 15 minus 7 equals 8, we have 8 for the answer in the ones column. Now, in the tens column, we are going to subtract 3 from the 1 in the tens borrow location. Since 3 is greater than 1, we're going to have to borrow from the 4 in the hundreds location. Doing this puts a 3 in the hundreds borrow location and 11 in the tens borrow location. Now we can subtract 11 minus 3 in the tens column. 11 minus 3 equals 8, so we have the answer in the tens answer location. Now, in the hundreds column, we're going to subtract 8 from the 3 in the hundreds borrow location. Since 8 is greater than 3, we're going to have to borrow from the 0 in the thousands location. Since we cannot borrow from the 0, we'll have to borrow from the 6 in the 10,000s column and then borrow across the 0 of the thousands column. This puts 13 in the hundreds borrow location. Now we can subtract 13 minus 8 in the hundreds column. 13 minus 8 equals 5, so we have the answer in the hundreds answer location. We have no other numbers to subtract in the thousands or 10,000s column, so we can bring down the numbers in the thousands and 10,000s borrow locations to the 10,000 and 1,000 answer locations. Now we have our answer. So 60,425 minus 837 equals 59,588. Now on the app. Subtraction Level 6 shows the two numbers we are subtracting and has areas to enter the answer in the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s columns, and has areas to enter numbers in the 10,000, 1,000, hundreds, tens, and ones borrow locations. Here we have 10,315 minus 269, and we will subtract the numbers in the ones column first. Since 9 is larger than 5, we will have to borrow from the 1 in the tens column. Borrowing from the 1 will leave a 0 in the tens borrow location. Touch the question mark in the tens borrow location and the keyboard will pop up. Touch the 0 on the keyboard to enter a 0 in the tens borrow location. The app will automatically cross out the 1 in the tens location, so you don't have to. Now we need to move the 1 we borrowed from the tens column to the ones borrow location. Touch the question mark in the ones borrow location and then the 1 and the 5 on the keyboard to put 15 in the ones borrow location. The app will cross out the 5 in the ones column for you. Now we can subtract 9 from the 15 in the ones column. 15 minus 9 equals 6, which is the answer in the ones column. Touch the question mark in the ones answer location and then the 6 on the keyboard to put a 6 in the ones answer location. Now we need to subtract the 6 in the tens column from the 0 in the tens borrow location. Since 6 is greater than 0, we will have to borrow from the 3 in the hundreds column. Doing this puts a 2 in the hundreds borrow location and a 10 in the tens borrow location. Touch the question mark in the hundreds borrow location and then the 2 on the keyboard to put a 2 in the hundreds borrow location. Now touch the question mark in the tens borrow location and then the 1 on the keyboard to change the 0 in the tens borrow location to a 10. Now we can subtract 6 from 10 in the tens column. 10 minus 6 equals 4, so we have our answer in the tens column. Touch the keyboard in the tens answer location and then the 4 on the keyboard to put a 4 in the tens answer location. We can now subtract the 2 from the 2 in the hundreds borrow location. Since 2 equals 2, we do not need to borrow from the 0 in the thousands location. 2 minus 2 equals 0, so we have our answer in the hundreds column. Touch the question mark in the hundreds answer location and then the 0 on the keyboard to put a 0 in the hundreds answer location. Since we do not have any other numbers to subtract in the thousands or 10,000s columns, we can bring these numbers down to the thousands and 10,000s answer locations. Touch the question mark in the thousands answer location and then the 0 on the keyboard to put a 0 in the thousands answer location, and then the question mark in the 10,000s answer location and the 1 on the keyboard to put a 1 in the 10,000s answer location. Now we have the answer. So 10,315 minus 269 equals 10,046. Touch the Enter key on the keyboard and the keyboard will disappear. And when you're ready, touch the Check key. The app will let you know if you got the answer right, and if not, give you the correct answer. Touch the Next key for the next problem. And when you think you're ready, touch the Quiz key to take the quiz and see if you're ready for multiplication.